Okay, so here's one that is very, very personal. The title of this poem is called The Year That I Came Back to Myself. It's interesting. So here we go. This year didn't start with fireworks. It started with silence. A silence so loud, I thought it might swallow me whole. There were days I screamed inside and smiled outside. Days I cleaned the kitchen just to feel in control. Nights I laid in bed, beside my own heartbreak, learning how to breathe again. I was betrayed, not just by someone else, but by the version of me who stayed too long, who silenced her knowing to keep the peace. But something shifted, a whisper at first, and then a roar. I began to listen to the voice that I had ignored for too long, my own. I saged my space, I cried in parking lots. I learned the names of my crystals. I started over without a map. Just moonlight, gut feelings, and the ache to be whole. This was not the year I broke. This was the year that I mended. Piece by trembling piece. Not all at once, but on time. I stopped asking for permission to feel what I felt. I stopped shrinking so others wouldn't feel small beside me. I stood barefoot in my own living room and whispered, I'm still here. Not broken, not bitter, but becoming. I used to think healing meant fixing, like I was a puzzle with a missing piece. But now I know I was never broken, just buried. Buried under expectations, under apologies I didn't owe, under the weight of holding it all together for everyone but me. And still I rose. Not like a phoenix in flames, but like morning light through half-open blinds, soft, unapologetic, certain. I didn't lose everything. I found me. I whispered to the girl I used to be, you were never too much. You were never too soft. You were simply ahead of your time, loving deeply in a world that mistook depth for danger. I know you tried. I know you stayed. When your spirit begged you to go, you didn't fail. You survived. And she whispered back to me, I was only waiting for you to remember that I'm still here. The dreams, the fire, the gut feelings, you buried them deep to keep them safe, but I never left. I've just been resting and waiting for you to leave us again. I used to think I wasn't enough, not loud enough, not pretty enough, not strong enough to make it through. But I made it, and now I see it wasn't that I wasn't enough. It's that they didn't know how to hold someone with stars in her bones and oceans in her heart. They didn't know what to do with someone who felt everything. But you know now. You know how to hold me with gentleness, how to speak to me like I matter. You let me rest when I'm tired. You let me cry without shame. You let me laugh again, without waiting for the world to give me permission. You didn't lose me. You grew into me. I used to hide behind the smiles, the kind that didn't quite reach my eyes. I thought being agreeable meant being lovable. That if I bent enough, they'd finally choose me, finally stay. But all that bending nearly broke me. And still, I held on to hope, to music, to the way that the trees always knew when to let go. I watched you grow from the edge, quiet as a prayer. I saw you dig through your grief, like it was a locked box with a key only we could make. And you did it. You found the key. You opened the box. You let the light in. And that's when I knew we were going to be okay. I learned that silence can be sacred, but it can also be a cage when you're too afraid to speak your own name. I learned that love shouldn't make you shrink. I love the real love, the lasting kind, makes room, not rules. I learned how to sit with pain without letting it plant roots, how to cry without apology, how to say no without explaining myself to people who never asked how I was to begin with. I learned that leaving isn't failure. Sometimes leaving is the first true breath after years of holding it in. And I learned that the bravest thing I ever did was stop pretending I didn't hurt. I learned that people will call you too much when what they really mean is more than I know how to handle. I learned how to read the air in a room before I ever learned how to ask for what I needed. How to be the peacekeeper, the pleaser, the one who says it's okay even when it wasn't. I learned that numb isn't the absence of pain, it's the overflow. It's what happens when you carry too much. You forget you were never meant to carry it all alone. I learned that intuition isn't something you earn, it's something that you remember. And once you trust it, it never stops speaking. And I've learned that no matter how far you feel from your own voice, you can always find it again. Even in a whisper, even in the dark, even in the ruins. I learned that survival looks different for every soul. Sometimes it's showing up, sometimes it's shutting down, sometimes it's getting out of bed and brushing your hair even when your heart still feels heavy. I learned that strength isn't static or still. It's soft, it's quiet, it's choosing to stay gentle in a world that tried to harden you. I learned to stop begging people to see me and start seeing myself. Started lighting candles for me, started holding space for the girl I used to abandon to make others comfortable. I learned that boundaries are not walls. They're bridges to peace, to safety, to myself. And I learned that healing doesn't mean I don't feel the hurt. It means I don't fear it anymore. I learned that grief isn't just for the dead. It's for the version of me I had to let go, for the love I gave that wasn't held right, for the dreams that fit someone else's life but not mine. I learned that walking away can be the most loving thing to do for your soul. And sometimes you don't get closure. You give yourself in whispers, in poems, in long drives with no destination. I learned that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. It means choosing peace over poison, freedom over resentment. I learned that no matter how dark it got, something in me kept glowing. Small, yes, but steady, but me. You were right about all of it, about how tired we were, about how love should never make you feel small, about how staying quiet wasn't the same as being okay. I see now that you carried without ever being asked. The secrets, the sadness, the smile you wore like armor. You were so young and so brave. I wish I had listened sooner. I wish I had wrapped you in the arms you kept trying to find in someone else. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere, and we've made it.